What stops people from taking action?
Well, everybody's busy and everybody's dealing with the whirlwind of work and what's going around, what's going on around them. Most of my clients know what they need to do. I mean, they know the action that they need to take, and it's not because they don't want to take it. It's because they get caught up in something else that may seem more important, or certainly more urgent, not necessarily more important, but more urgent, and therefore they don't take action, even though they have the intention to do it. They let other priorities pull them in different directions, and don't focus on the things that are important but aren't urgent. And because they aren't urgent, they're not devoting their time to them. I mean, it's the classic Stephen Covey quadrant that's up in the top right of things that are really important, like planning and like strategy sessions.
Right.
And like time with your family, or time with your kids, or time with your best friends, or one-on-one time with your teammate or direct report. It's not urgent, but it's extremely important. So taking action, my clients are extremely action focused. They're extremely execution focused, every one of them. But not everybody's executing on all the things that they need to, because they're prioritizing things that are pulling them, and they're losing the focus on the things that are important. And part of what I do when I come in is I recalibrate their focus and have them step back and say, what are you not getting to that you know that you need to get to? I mean, if these are your goals and these are your tasks, tell me the goals that these 5 tasks align with. And if they're not aligning with those tasks or those goals, then why are you doing them? So that there's complete alignment. But I mean, you want to be able to look at your calendar and know that everything on your calendar aligns with something that I call your most valuable one of your most valuable activities. If it's not, then you've got to question why you're spending time on it. Now, we can't spend 100% of our time on our most valuable activities, but we've got to be in the 80% range, or else we're not going to perform at the level that we're capable of performing. So early on in the process, I help my executive clients understand what in their world at this time are their most valuable activities. And it's usually 5 or 6 things that they need to be spending their time on, that are going to add the greatest value to the company, that are going to allow them to achieve their goals, that makes them indispensable when they do it, meaning there's nobody else in the company that can do it like they do it. They can't delegate it, and it's something that's really important and something that they love to do.
That's a great information. I actually wrote that down because I think sometimes I definitely get off track, and when you're in the weeds of your own business, sometimes things can just drag you down and pull you out, or it gets distracting.
It's everybody's problem. I've never been into a brand new coaching situation where that is not an issue right from day one.
Yeah.
I mean, what we do early on in the process, we do an audit of their most valuable activities, and I have my clients actually track their time for a period of time, 2 or 3 weeks, against their most valuable activities. And what we usually find, and if they don't track it, then we approximate it through some very detailed discussions of what they do on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. But what I almost always find is that clients are spending 30 to 40% of their time on their most valuable activities, and 60 to 70% of their time on their least valuable activities, which is a complete mismatch. It needs to be completely the other way around.
Yeah.
70 to 80 on those most valuable activities. And I find everybody is out of a line. Now, is it possible to sustain 100%? Absolutely not, because there's too many other things that you've got to do. But it is possible to sustain if you've got your workflow and your team assembled correctly. It's possible to sustain 75 to 80% of your time on your most valuable activities, but you've got to know what they are.
Right.
And then you've got to prioritize time spent on them by blocking your calendar or configuring your task management system so that you're focusing on them.
What's some techniques that we can build in awareness for that, to trigger that saying, say I know my my most valuable activity or where I want to go is here, but the secretary calls me down, I got to start working on the bills, or make sure this is working, but it's like, I'm not growing my business. What's some things I can do so I can be like, this is not worth my time, or this is not the most important thing because I'm not spending that 70-80% on.
Well, there's a number of things that you can do. One thing that I strongly recommend to all of my clients, and you'd be surprised at how many people don't do it, is that you've got to, once a week, you've got to plan your week, and you've got to have a comprehensive weekly planning process. It's one of the foundational elements of David Allen's book, Getting Things Done, which I'm a huge fan of, is a weekly planning time, and it's carving out something that's like, Brian, it's an hour and a half if you do it right and you do it on a comprehensive basis. I do my weekly planning every Monday morning between 7:30 and 9 o'clock. It's a religion, it's a habit. I've got a checklist of things that I do every Monday as part of that. Even though I've been doing it for years, I still run through it. There's something gratifying about checking things off. It actually releases chemicals in your body that produce positive feelings. But it's reminding yourself of what your MVAs are. It's looking at all your goals once a week, your personal goals, your professional goals, your business performance goals, your relationship goals, and understanding what those goals are. It's looking at everything that's on your to-do list, everything, going through it all and deciding, once I've looked at my goals, understand my MVAs, what's important, what are the things that I need to get done this week, and then blocking time early in the week on your calendar for those important things that need to get done. It's the classic Stephen Covey big rocks, making sure that you get the big rocks in the jar first, in this case, the important things on your calendar. You can't fill up your calendar with big rocks. You've got to leave room for the pebbles and the little rocks and the sand, the least valuable activities. But you've got to get some time focused on your most valuable activities on your calendar, because in the end, when you look back on Friday, you are your calendar. Whatever your calendar says that you've done, that's who you are, and that's how you've decided to prioritize your time. Now, does that mean that you're going to get to all of those? No, but it does mean, and it does work this way if you do it correctly, it does mean that you get to it to a much more often and much more deeper than if you didn't do that process. So developing that habit will force you into a routine to get those important things on your calendar, and therefore a better chance of getting them done.